This is Kathy from GadgetStop321. In today's video I'm going to be comparing the Sailor Pro Color 500 and the Penbbs 308. I use these pens for similar purposes. I use them both at school for grading papers, and these pens have a lot in common. They both have stainless steel fine nibs. Technically, in the product description of the Pro Color 500, it says it's a medium fine nib, but the nib itself is marked fine. The 308 came with a converter. I don't know with 100% certainty what type of cartridges it uses. Doug Rathbun has a video where he investigates that, and it appears that it uses Parker style cartridges, but you have to be careful since they come in long and short. You have to make sure, you know, the long ones will fit. You would probably have to go with short cartridges to be on the safe side. Sailor has its own proprietary converters and cartridges. I have a cartridge in this one right now that I've refilled. So, and they just have similar styling. So I'm going to do the writing sample first, and I'm also going to include a couple other Sailors in my writing sample just because this one has been dropped and I want to have a fair comparison between the two. I've dropped this one and damaged the nib. It's been repaired by me, but we'll just compare all four. Okay. The Pro Color is inked up with KWZ Standard Grapefruit. Make sure I'm in focus here. And I'm going to mark it fine since that is the designation on the nib itself. Now, Sailor's known for their nibs having a fair amount of feedback, and let's see if you can. I believe it's, you know, the nibs are not ground. The tipping is not round tipping. Now, this one I've done some work on, but Sailor nibs tend to have an architect appearing grind to them. Let's see, here is the Penbbs 308, and it has a distinctive grind to the tipping as well. Substantially smoother. And drier as well. This, I've found it to be noticeably dry whenever I'm writing on poor quality paper that tends to be more absorbent. You can really tell it's sucking the ink out, and you have to write slower. And other fountain pen users have made that same comment, so it's probably not just isolated to this pen. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and compare it to one of the 14 karat fine Sailor nibs. Now the feedback in this fine is pretty similar to the Pro Color. The Pro Color is just a little bit, has a little bit wider nib, but part of that is from the damage that I did to it and the work that I've had to do on it. It's hard to tell. I think this Sailor Black really clings to the sides, so it's hard to tell if I'm running out of ink. That little hard start there is not typical for this pen, so I might be running out of ink. Now that yeah, that's a decently dry nib as well. More similar to the 308. And then here's a Sailor 1911 standard with a medium nib. Quite a bit wetter, closer to the Pro Color. Now I'm going to compare these as far as smoothness goes and just make sure. Let's see. I believe the least smooth was the actual fine. Yeah, it's got quite a bit of feedback. It's not uncomfortable for me. And I think that is followed by the Pro Color. Yeah, I think the Pro Color is a little bit smoother, and that might just be in part because it's writing a little bit wetter. And I think the medium would come next. Yeah, it's substantially smoother than the first two. There's still feedback, but you can tell it's smoother just because the amount of tipping is larger. And then this is just a totally different level. It's drier, but you can just tell from the way it's ground. There's a glassy smoothness to it. Now I have found when writing on poor quality paper, because of the unusualness of the way the tipping is ground, it does make a difference. Sometimes I have to hold my pen a little more sideways. It does tend to get, I don't know if I would call it scratchy, or that the nib just tends to hang up on poor quality paper sometimes. Okay. Now, there's a difference if you're going to compare the 308 to the 1911. The design's just a little bit different. You see the plastic extends past the cap band, and this has a 14 karat nib. There's a trim ring down here, and let's see, yeah, a trim ring up here. So I'm going to go ahead and set the 1911 and the Pro Gear Slim off to the side because they're kind of in a different league. Now the Pro Color and the 308 are more similar. Now the 308 is a fair amount longer just here at the end, but the rest of the pen, the dimensions are more similar. The girth is similar. Let's see. I'm going to compare the sections. Now it appears that the section on the 308 is a little bit longer, and the nib's a fair amount larger. This is a number 6 size nib, and I'm not sure how Sailor numbers their nibs, if you would classify this as a number 5, but it is a smaller nib. Let's see. The shape of the sections are similar, and let's see. The 308 section might be just a hair wider. I'm not sure. Now, I had that issue with ink leaking out of the converter. I had that issue yesterday, and it may have just been because I'm up here upstairs in my house, and it was cold up here for a few days, and the temperature change may have had something to do with that. But the 308 is able to be eyedropper converted, whereas the Pro Color cannot, because it's got this metal housing or metal sleeve that the cartridge in the converter slides into. The 308 comes with this rubber O-ring, and that was kind of a lifesaver when the converter leaked. I find this to be a decent converter. It really snaps in there. I think it was just a temperature change, an issue with temperature change. Now, one of the main things that I look at when I'm looking for a pen is how well it posts and how well it's balanced. So let's compare those. Okay, so unposted, the 308 is pretty comfortable. For me, when posted, it doesn't post super deeply for a cigar-shaped pen, but mine posts pretty securely. Now, I have found this with other pens like Jen Howes, that depending on the material that you get will affect how well it posts. I've had several people comment that they feel like their 308 posts unsecurely, but mine doesn't. Mine posts very securely. It backweights it a little bit, and I always thought, I didn't really pay much attention to it. I just, holding the cap, I felt like it was this trim, the cap band that was giving it that extra weight. But after comparing it to the Sailor cap, I think it's whatever the fastener is in here holding the clip on. I think that's what's giving it its weight. There's not a whole lot of difference in the weight. They're very similar. This one does, I wouldn't call it unbalanced, but it does shift the weight back just a hair. Whereas, well, I'll leave this. Whereas the Sailor tends to post a little more deeply. You see, it's even a bit more shorter when posted, and it just really, you can tell the weight, instead of being right here, is right here, and it just feels really good in my hand. Both of these pens I'm very fond of. I like just the simple, inexpensive clip. Let's compare those. Yeah, the clips feel very similar. They look very similar. Now the clip on the Pro Gear Slim and the 1911 have a little bit more detail to them. They're more premium pens. But both of these have the similar cap band, and the edges are not sharp on this one at all. I think the 308, I've looked at it before, yeah. Not sharp at all. So, really, The only significant differences between these two are that I like the way the Sailor posts a bit better. It posts a little more deeply and it doesn't affect the balance as much. And this one, you can get cartridges, Sailor proprietary cartridges. This one, I'm not 100% sure about the cartridge situation, whether they are, how well those Parker cartridges would actually fit in here. But this one did come with a converter. Depending on how you feel about whether you like glassy smooth nibs or a little bit of feedback, this one is glassy smooth but a bit drier. Both pretty nice pens. I'm still going to have to keep an eye on this one as far as the converter leaking and see if that was just from the temperature changing. But, oh, and price. I believe, now, these come in solid colors as well as some demonstrator models. And I think they all run about the same price, depending on where you get them from. If you get it from an actual retailer, I think they run about $60. And, you know, you'll have a little bit better chances of, if something goes wrong with the pen, you can have some probably better customer service. But if you buy this from a seller overseas, I think they run about $40. These Penbbs 308s will run anywhere from $15 to $30 or $40, sometimes more than that. There's a limited resin that people are trying to get a hold of. Sometimes people can jack up the prices on those. So you can get 2 to 3 of these or more for the price of the Sailor. So if you're in the market for a pen such as one of these, hopefully this information will help you decide which one is right for you. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.